So, I don't really know why I did it, but I decided to wake up at 5 o'clock this morning, hit the road, head over into Mississippi and pick us up another project foiler. Not that I need another project foiler, but this was kind of one of them deals that was too good to pass up. I think it's around like a 15 or 16 model Honda 420, and it's missing a couple things, and it definitely needs to be built. But supposedly the rear diff and the front diff and one of the drive shafts, or maybe the yoke or something, was replaced. I don't really know. He was telling me a whole bunch of stuff, and I can't really remember what he told me. But it was a super good deal, and I couldn't pass it up. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to use this for our little Honda build that we're going to try. The whole build series that I want to do to see if we can build something cheaper than we can buy it. I know I've got the Can-Am I want to do. We've got that 850 Polaris, and I wanted to do a Honda Rubicon, but we got this 420 so cheap. I know for a fact we can build this thing pretty sick, way cheaper than what you can buy one at the moment. So we're probably going to end up using this 420. Now, I'm still a couple hours from the house, and these roads over in Mississippi suck. Just all out suck. They're just some of the roughest roads I've ever been on, and it's really hard to hold this camera steady. So we're going to knock out this driving. Once we get to the house, we'll take a look at this thing a little closer, see exactly what we got, and maybe go over our plans, exactly what we're going to do with it. Probably be a while before we start on this one. We've got that OBS 420 that we're doing for the giveaway guy. He did not want the giveaway foiler. He wants the 420 as like a hunting foiler. So we've got to work on that. But once we get that done, we're going to start on these little projects we got. So let's knock this driving out and get to the house real fast. Well, we made it back from our trip. It's actually been a couple days since we went and picked up that 420. I think we picked that up on Thanksgiving Thursday, and I think today is Monday or Tuesday, so it's been about 4 days since we picked it up. We actually stopped yesterday and picked up a couple other projects that we had did some trading for a while back. We've still got one that we need to go pick up. We've got that white OBS 420 with the power steering. I've got to go pick that up. Maybe, I don't know, we're kind of crunched for time right now, trying to get a bunch of orders knocked out before Christmas. So maybe the end of this week or next week, if I get all the orders out, we'll make a trip and go pick that one up. We'll jump over here. We'll take a look at this 420 that we picked up in Mississippi real fast over Thanksgiving. And we'll go over everything on it, what my plans are for it. And then we'll take a look at these other two we just picked up. We're also looking for an OBS rear end because that 420 doesn't have a rear end in it. And it's mostly complete minus the rear end. So I definitely want to build it and not part it out. And we're looking for a 250 or a 350D rear end. So if you got one of those, hit us up. I know that's a big red behind us, but we've got plans for that one, and I need an extra rear end for a 300 build. But let's take a look at this 420 real fast. So I got tied up earlier, had to stop, but we got a little free time now. So let's go over this 420 real fast, and we'll take a look at these couple other projects we picked up. So for the most part, this thing's all together. It's in pretty rough shape, but we only paid $400 for it. And if the story the guy told us is true, and I'm pretty sure it's true because he seemed like a super honest guy, the rear diff and the front diff was just rebuilt. Supposedly the front diff, I think front and rear diff both had like 2 rides on it, I think, if I remember correctly. So the top end started smoking. He took it to a shop to have it rebuilt. Shop ended up closing down. People were freaking out, just grabbing boxes and taking them. And the box that his top end was in, the cylinder in the head got taken. So there's no top end actually to the motor, which is no big deal. This one is electric shift. I'm not super fond of the electric shift models. So I've got a 17 model 420 bottom end and top end in there with that's foot shift. And I also have the wiring harness for, I believe, at my buddy's that I can get my hands on. So we may try to convert this over to a foot shift. I'm gonna look into that. Not 100% sure yet, but probably gonna go that route. And for most of the people that know on these Hondas, the rear end alone is worth the $400 we paid for it. So I'm pretty happy with the buy. I mean, crap, at the moment that U-joint up there is worth, I guess, $100 according to what everybody's trying to get for a used one at the moment. So if nothing else, it's well worth the money we paid for it in parts. Now the idea with this one is we're going to take it all the way down to the frame. We're going to powder coat it. On the 420s, the axles are a little shorter than the 500s. We found that out when we first started doing arched A-arms. I did not know that the frame we were building around at the time was actually a 420 frame, and we ended up figuring out they were a little shorter. From what I can gather, if you put 500 axles in these 420s, you can come out with a 3 to possibly 4-inch lift on them. So we've got a set of axles in there, and we're going to see exactly how much lift we can get out of them without going too crazy on the angles. And we're going to do a little 3 to 4-inch lift kit on this one. We've actually got a pre-order sale going on those lift kits now. If you got one and you want to pick up one pretty cheap, we've got those listed on the website. We'll do a small 4-inch stretch for it. I've got an idea for a pretty simple idea that may come out to be a really cheap way to do a stretch kit for these. It's kind of hard to see with the plastic on it, but we'll go over that once we actually start the build video on this one. Rear rack's bent. We'll build a rack for it. That's no big deal. Seat's in pretty rough shape. We got a pretty jam up upholstery guy in town. We'll let him take care of that. Gas tank's out of it, but I actually got it over there beside a tree. Of course, bumper, and it needs a new rack where they had welded this on. I guess they took the bumper off and wanted to ride. Looks like he's welded on it a couple different times. He welded a bar down here to the frame. Looks like that weld's pretty much broke, so we probably can get that off pretty easy. We'll grind that back down, clean it up, and the bolt hole is actually still in good shape, so we're good to go on a bumper on that. Of course, we'll check the diffs out just to make sure they were rebuilt, because it's a good possibility if the shop that was going to do his top end told him he rebuilt the rear and front diff, they might have not actually even touched them, might have just charged them for it. So we'll dig into that. Probably gonna start doing some grills for these, so we'll probably lay out a grill. All this plastic that's broke, I'm pretty sure I've actually got a good set of plastics around back, so we should be in good shape on that. We'll jump over here. Still got some of these 850 parts laying in the yard. The yard's a mess at the moment, but we're gonna get all these tore apart and get everything on the shelf and start on that 850 build soon. That's actually our first original buy, fix, and flip Ranger. I've actually got it sold. I got to finish it up. We got that sold. So we picked up this 570 Renegade, and we originally was told it was going to be a 1000 motor we was getting with this. We did some trading on this, come out with a really good like smoking deal on this. We got it like dirt cheap, and it's power steering. It's got the power steering unit. It's got the ECM with it, and supposedly the motor we was getting was a 1000. We went to pick it up. It turned out to be an 800. No big deal. We're going to end up putting it on there anyways. We are looking for a transmission. Somebody's got a trans for one of these, let us know. We'll go over more on this build once we actually start on it. I got a pretty cool idea on that one. Picked up this big red. I actually bought this thing like a year and a half ago. It was all together, complete. It was running. Guy had parked it. I think it went out of town or something. It was an older guy. I can't remember the whole story the guy told me. Anyways, they used it for hunting. The guy parked it, just never used it, went and bought a foiler. By the time I got there, the rear drum was locked up on it. We ended up selling it to a guy because I just didn't have time to work on it. We were so busy. Guy had big plans for it. I guess it didn't work out. The buddy of mine that's got the salvage yard ended up with it, and he got it in this condition. But he's got the motor for it, so we still got to pick the motor up. And we got that white OBS 420 we got to pick up. We'll pick the motor up and that one once we get back to his shop, once we get some time. Still got the Outlander, a crank and top ends coming for that. We got some parts coming for the little pit bike. We'll jump inside and take a quick look at this Sportsman, and we'll take a quick look at the 800 motor we got for the Renegade. So we started tearing down the 850 Sportsman. Still got a ton to do on it as far as getting the part. I've got a guy down in Pensacola, Florida that's going to do a bunch of sandblasting for me. He's going to do it pretty cheap. So we've got, I think, a total of like 7 or 8 projects, and we're just going to tear them all down to the frame, take them all the frames and the parts that he can sandblast, do it a lot quicker than we can, and save us a ton of time. So we'll get this tore on down to the frame,
and we'll start that build. It's got that 3-inch outcast lift on there. We're actually going to build a 6-inch lift and probably start selling 6-inch lifts for these. So if somebody's interested in that outcast lift, we'll have that for sale pretty soon. This is the 800 motor. The story goes on this motor that it was completely rebuilt top to bottom, but they never had it running 100% right. And we was pretty sure it was going to be out of time. And I tore it apart just to see, tore one head off of it just to see what was going on. Because main reason was it had these Mr. RPM valve covers. So I was really curious to see if it had like cams or maybe pistons or something in there, to see if maybe they'd put some real good money to it. We got the valve cover off there, and all the Allen heads for the gear was loose, and they're kind of slotted, so it's got a little adjustment to them. So I'm pretty sure it just wasn't in time correctly. I did check the cylinder out. We rolled the motor over the other day. We checked the cylinder out. The cylinder looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and tear it apart just to check the crank on it. Mr. RPM actually makes a, I think it's called a 975 kit for the 800s. I believe you can put it on the 650 also. I have to look into that. But I believe it's a 975 kit for the older 800s. Leaning towards maybe possibly doing that. The idea is to build a really crazy Renegade out of the 570. It's kind of going to go with another idea that I've got, so it's going to be on the back burner for just a little bit until we get these other projects knocked out. But possibly we'll do the big bore kit on that, do some race heads and Mr. RPM cams, and then I don't know, who knows, maybe a nitrous bottle or something, turbo, who knows. But that's pretty much it for that. We're going to start doing the headlights and radiator kits for these, possibly some other stuff I've looked at on these that looks like would probably be pretty decent sellers. I might even look into some diff braces. I don't know if these have diff problems or not. We are going to do some frame stiffener stuff for the Outlander and possibly the Renegade. From the knowledge that I do have, a lot of the suspension stuff goes from 570 to 1000. So we'll probably build some stuff around this. Tail lights is a good possibility. And Maverick rear diff swap kits is a real, this one's gonna get a Maverick diff. So doing some Maverick diff swap kits is a high possibility. But that's pretty much gonna be it for this one. My mouth's super crazy dry. I'm getting dehydrated. I've been wide open all day. And it's getting late in the afternoon. I'm about to jump inside, grab something to eat real fast, grab something to drink and get out here, and we got some air boxes to knock out. So that's gonna do it for this one. Until next time.